This hangout on air is live. Thank you for joining us for OreAni, the end of 2016 winter. It's a pretty good series or season, and I hope to catch up soon. But today with us, we got Jessica,
Hello.
Sean,
Hey.
and me, Tink. And now I've kind of noticed I have a little delay, so sorry about that, but hopefully we can get through this all right. So our first title for today doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, is Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju. I think I did pretty good at that, didn't I?
Good enough. We know what it is. It's the Rakugo show.
Yeah, the Rakugo. I think I only saw like 3 or 4 episodes.
What the hell's wrong with you?
I've been busy.
No excuses.
What do you have to say about it?
This one is not to be missed. For me, it was definitely the anime of the season. It is great character writing, complex story. Probably the most remarkable thing about the show is that it actually shows an entire Rakugo performance. In almost every episode, there's at least one Rakugo performance, unabridged. And that was really cool to see the art form for what it was.
It's interesting to see an interpretation of the art form, I suppose. Yeah, because sometimes they do go into a little bit of imagination theater
Sure.
in some of the performances. And it also makes me wonder, like, how they went about animating those performances. Like, do they... Because, I mean, first of all, like, they have to get some really good voice talent to do that. You know, because it's all about... it's an anime about storytelling, so it has to convince you that, like, these are skilled storytellers. So it's really interesting to see these anime VAs doing Rakugo. So I wonder if they like recorded them first and then animated over that, or did they do it conventionally where they do the animation first and then the voice actors voiced over? It really makes me wonder about that. But you know, but yeah, all the voice talent, they're all veterans. Like even Megumi Hayashibara plays a character in it. And you know, she's pretty rare when it comes to TV anime
She's
these
old
days.
school.
Yeah, she only appears in like movies now. So to see her in a TV anime is pretty impressive.
Wasn't she the voice for a lot of the Japanese animation shorts in that one?
Yeah, she did a lot of the Animator Expo.
Yeah, that's what it was, Anime Expo. I swear for like the whole second season, it was just nothing but her voice for almost all the female characters.
Mm-hmm.
But I would admit for the voice quality of the show is really well. Even though I didn't watch all of it, the parts I did watch were very fun, and just the different styles they had, like when they're talking about his friend back in the day, when he was telling his stories, just the power and energy he had in his storytelling was really fun. And even though it was kind of like, what's he really talking about? Sometimes I was just because of the power he had, it made it really fun just to listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
So does this stay with his memories, or does it actually go back into the main
Yeah,
story where the guy's trying to learn?
it seems like this season is the story of his past, and then they're going to do another season, which is the story of his new disciple.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the general structure of Rakugo Shinju.
So this is 2 core, or is it going to be a different season for the next part?
It's
I
a
don't know.
single Cour. And do you remember when the second one is supposed to start?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. Like this was my favorite show of this season or last season, but I almost never wrote about it on Anime Talk because I like to be the explainer or I like to muse on things that are ambiguous. And Rakugo Shinju is such a well-made piece of storytelling that there's not much that's ambiguous about it. Like it conveys extremely well. And that's not because it's simple. Like the story is complex and it has all these layers to it, but the storytelling is so strong that I don't feel like there needs to be like I don't have the motivation to like write a post that explains everything because it just seems really obvious. So yeah, it's a really amazing thing. It's one of those special shows that like a year from now, I'll still be recommending this to people who haven't seen it.
Yeah, I would probably run out of superlatives if I tried to describe the show, but basically if you're the type of person that thinks, oh, all anime is derivative and I'm getting burned out, this one is one you have to watch because it will get you out of your anime funk, if that's the way you feel. It's that good.
So it gets out of all the tropes. And
Oh
comes to the
yeah.
new.
Mm, I wouldn't say that, but you know, I don't know. I still think it has a lot of depth. Like it has depth and it's
All
compelling.
right.
Like what more do you want? Like it has a little bit of like bromance tropes. I feel like I've seen some of these relationships before, like in a Sakamichi no Apollon. That kind of reminds me of that. Like the two main characters in that versus the two main characters in this. Like that relationship seems similar. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah. I mean, despite that, it's really cool.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next title then. Oops. Sorry, guys. I don't. What is this? Haito Genso no Grimgar?
Mm-hmm.
Another show I haven't. Actually, this one I haven't even gotten past the first episode, unfortunately.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I mean, even though I tried to do 3 episodes, this one
Excuse me.
kept on missing.
You didn't like the show, or what was it?
I thought it was interesting, especially a lot of the things where like he was like, "Oh man, where's my phone? Wait a minute, what's a phone?" And they get confused. I kind of wanted to know more about what was really going on, but I don't know. This
Well,
one always just
rest assured, it never comes
always
up
missed.
again.
Yeah, you'll be disappointed. It's a really
So
good
what
show,
what is
though.
it about?
It's probably
What
one
was
of
it
the
about?
most
Just them trying to
poignant
survive?
ones that deals with death, I would say. But I probably should also amend that this is spoiler territory here. How much do you want to go into it? Are we cool with spoilers, or?
Well, I think it's easy enough to
Yeah.
just talk around who exactly dies, but someone does die.
Yeah.
And
And
the,
they still feel the impact of that loss for the rest of the series.
So this has happened early on then, or?
Is it episode 3?
yeah, something like that,
So
3, 4 maybe.
fairly early, but you as the viewer do get attached to this person, and so it comes as a bit of a shock to you too when it happens, and it just walks you through the entire grieving process and how everybody does it differently. And everybody moves on at different times, and there's always going to be a little part of you that doesn't move on. It's really handled death very well.
I think for the
So
type
what
of...
did this?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So I was just wondering, like, what was this show really about? Because from what it seemed, it was like they were just trying to get used to this world. Did it actually start trying to follow something, or was there an objective?
It seems largely unconcerned about the world around it. It's weird. It's really weird ass anime.
It's more about the characters than anything else.
It's more about immersing you into the rhythm of life of this fantasy world where these humans, these like modern humans, were just like zapped into this fantasy world, and suddenly they have no memories, and they're like, what? And and then they're immediately conscripted into this quote unquote volunteer army, and this is like what you have to do to live, and if you don't do it, then you die or you're poor. So they're basically forced into fighting as adventurers, and they take up quests like slay these goblins or whatever. So it's the thing that like makes this different than a bunch of other shows that would have the same premise is it's a storytelling emphasis. Like there's almost like a slice of life. It's not a slice of life anime, but it has like a slice of life feel in the sense of like how hard it tries to immerse you into this world and their rhythm of life, and like all the things that they do in between fighting the goblins or whatever. And then that even continues like into when they actually do fight the goblins, because they don't just like 3 slashes and they're dead. No, that like the action scenes are, I don't want to say protracted, but they feel the right length. Like they go on for a long time, and sometimes they even have insert songs in them, and they play the entire song, like throughout this battle scene that lasts like 4 minutes.
And they'll do that with the slice of life montages, which Sean talked a little bit about. Is there was probably a 4 or 5 minute montage at the end of episode 2 that was just showing them going around and shopping, but it didn't feel boring. It still was able to deal with some characterization and make you feel like you were a part of the world too. So it's certainly not a bad thing that they're doing it that way.
Yeah, so with that unusual immersion factor, when it comes to the drama, like when a major character dies, we already talked about that. That the gravity of that event like continues to affect them all throughout the series, and they struggle to like reform their group tactics, and the group dynamics become frayed in the wake of that event, and they're continually like evolving and struggling to sort of understand each other so that they can like trust each other and come up with group tactics that make sense and don't get them killed and all that. Like there's a there's just so much detail that I don't know, it's weird.
Also,
it's a
what
weird
needs
show.
to be mentioned are the backgrounds. They're gorgeous. They're highly detailed, sort of watercolor style. Really beautiful.
Yeah, and they dimensionalize some of them
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, so that it can do like a 3D pan or something. Yeah, it's weird. It's a fantasy adventure anime, but with this really intense storytelling emphasis, like this emphasis on immersion and like visceralness, and that transforms the story as a result.
Hmm.
I made a bunch of posts on Anime Talk, and sort of arguing that like it does this to the extent that it makes you realize that the world is not really built for it. It's not really built for that level of like detail and examination. But the show does it anyway. So if you focus on its strengths, like what it does really well, then it's a really cool show.
So was the music really well done, or?
I would say that the music was used well. And like I was saying, when they do an insert song, then it's like an event. Like they craft the scene around the song and everything.
It doesn't really
That's
stand
what's kind of
out,
interesting.
which in my mind means that they match the music perfectly with the emotional tempo of the scenes. So if I were to try and think about the soundtrack, I come up with nothing. But that doesn't mean it's bad, just that it was scored really well.
So, would you say this follows those main characters that we saw at the beginning, or is it jumping around like this group and then that group and then this group and then that group again?
It's mostly the one
So,
group, is that the other groups and other characters are on the periphery, but you don't really know what they're thinking or what their motives and goals are as much as you do with the main group. As it's a very narrowly focused show.
okay, that seems pretty good. Sometimes I hate it when they split them up too much and then they have spend so much time going back and forth that I think it kind of gets a little irritating at times when they do that.
Yeah, the show puts a lot of focus on the group. Like you almost never see them completely separated.
All right. Thank you guys for that. Let's go ahead and move on to the next title. You guys just voted for everything I haven't watched.
We planned it that way.
Such wars, Markin.
Yeah, where's
Where's
Tripley when you
Tripley,
need him?
man?
Where's Tripley?
Artist Markin.
I feel bad. Sorry, Tripley. I ruined it.
Damn it, Tripley. I want you to be here so you can tell us if this anime is legit or not. Tripley's like, it's all true. We did repel the invasion. Giant robots.
Against the beta.
So, did this show end up being better than what you thought, or?
Oh yes. I had watched the original Love, and when I heard there was a spin-off, I thought it was going to follow the rules of the spin-off, which means that the spin-off is inherently inferior to the original show. And since Love was your typical paint-by-numbers harem anime, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be even worse. But it's completely different than that. It has the veneer of a harem, where you have one dude and a whole lot of chicks that all have the same face but different hairstyles, and all have very ridiculously tight plug suits. But it's way more than the sum of its parts. Sean wrote a really good write-up, or several write-ups actually, about the politics involved. And he should probably talk about that.
For this show, I like the story much more than the storytelling. Like from a storytelling point of view, it's kind of mediocre, and it misses a lot of things, which is why I wrote those posts. Because it had those omissions, and because it sort of expected you to know things. I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna watch this show, I need to like look up these things. I need to know about this historical background. I need to know about the universe of Love and like what is the logic that governs the tactics and strategy of like mecha versus alien monster combat, because it has those elements, like it has those details if you want to look into it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it, like aside from kind of repeating myself from the first impressions hangout that we did, because it does take place in a historical place and time that I knew nothing about, and watching the show made me look it up, and it's pretty interesting. And the show will continually make references to history that will have you looking up even more things on Wikipedia and whatnot. Like in one episode, there was like a Stasi library. There's like this massive library of like all the intelligence files that they have on the entire population of uh, East Germany and also a lot of politicians around the world so that they can blackmail them. So that was a thing that really existed, and it's interesting to then go look up what happened to the real Stasi library. Like, what did they do with that? So, there are a bunch of little things like that that make it interesting. Like the show has a rich context, and to some extent, it also has a rich story. But also, I don't know, the storytelling didn't really do it justice, I guess. Like, I wish this adaptation was better than it was.
See, my expectations were so low coming into it that when I saw the final product, I thought, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. So it's certainly, if you didn't like the original Muv-Luv, you got to give this one a shot, especially if you enjoy history with a little bit, or alternate history, with a little bit of sci-fi. Because really, the beta, the aliens, weren't even that much of a threat, I felt. They were kind of removed and out there, and the main characters had to deal more with the political structure and the oppressive government regime more than the aliens.
Yeah, at some point the East German government falls to a coup, and then all these factions start fighting for control, while the aliens are like right at the border. So yeah, the story of Schwarz's Machen is really cool, and it ain't a bad show. I just wish it was better. Like there are moments that I don't know. Like I didn't really feel much for the many death scenes of the show. Like they just didn't do it for me because they were kind of like stilted, and yeah, I don't know.
There was also one character, the silver long-haired girl, that didn't really get a lot of screen time, so I know nothing about her. Absolutely nothing.
Yep.
Except she's kind of grumpy.
I read her backstory, and I was like, wow, when are they going to do that in the show? And they totally didn't.
Oh. So if money were no object, it would be cool to completely redo this show from the ground up, and you'd make it an epic. But that's not going to happen. So.
Yeah, there were a whole lot of plot points every episode. So maybe it should have been more of a 26 episode show. But yeah. Well, I think that's all I got for Schwarz's Machen.
Same.
Like, I would recommend it if you were really interested in that, like a mecha anime that has like a deep political context. Like maybe if you liked Pat Labor back in the day.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I got a little bit.
I can tell from the feedback that you're lagging like a mofo. Should I take over hosting duties or something? So I can see on your screen that next up is Bokudake Bokumachi. And who saw this? Everybody? Everybody saw this?
Yeah, I think we all did.
I'm just gonna let Tenka know in chat that we can't hear him.
Oh no, what's going on?
But I heard you say what's going on.
Okay, change it.
Hello?
Yeah.
Tenkan, are you back? I'll take that as a no. Yeah, Tenkan says, go ahead and talk. Bokumachi. The show that everybody watched. There's
Yes.
nobody who did not watch this thing. My feelings are very mixed on this show because I think the show itself is very mixed. It's like one part drama and one part thriller.
Mhm.
And I think the drama stuff is awesome, and the thriller stuff is crappy in the way that anime thrillers tend to be crappy.
Yeah, there were a few points in the story, the thriller part of the story, that it was just, really? We're gonna go there? Okay. But the highlight for me was in episode 11 where the villain is wheeling our hero, Satoru. And that episode, when he's pushing him in the wheelchair, I felt so powerless and so helpless and was incredibly tense on my couch in my living room. And so I have to say that the show really succeeded in creating that tension really well in that episode. And when he started drumming his finger on the handle of the wheelchair, I was just, freaking out a little bit. Just, how can you be so calm, Satoru?
Yeah, it has its moments.
Mm-hmm.
But then the finale after that I thought was kind of stupid. But
Yeah, it was a little bit of a letdown for me, too. I thought it was overwrought. But with
let's
the
just
little girl, Kaio, where she goes over to Satoru's home and, the mom's giving her a bath and making her dinner and she cries. I was crying, too.
uh
It does emotion really well.
Yeah, and my favorite part of the finale is, well, hey, everybody's seen this show. Let's just assume that there's nobody to spoil. I'm gonna say some spoilers right here. Uh, my favorite part is when he wakes up after his like decade and a half long coma, and
Yes.
and then one by one you get to see all of his friends visit him at the hospital, and you're like, oh
Uh-huh.
snap! Like they're in their grown up form. You see what they've done in their lives. Like that was really fascinating. And then he suggests the idea. It's like, hey, I know who the killer is. Do you want to catch him? And then they're all like, hell yeah, even though they're all adults.
That was another part that got me crying too, is when it showed the mother washing his hair and taking care of him for 15 years doing this thing because she's just an awesome mom. And again, you hit the nail on the
Yeah,
head, is that the drama part it does so well.
Yeah, it's like the drama stuff is good in execution, and the ideas themselves are compelling.
Hmm.
That like you can travel back to your childhood and see it through adult eyes, and then you see things that you've never seen before. You're like, oh, I understand why these people are like this. I see he was trying to hide something from me,
Hmm.
but
Oh, and it's
I'm an adult in a kid's body, so I can pick up on that, and like all these little things.
the
And
scene that drove that point home between the schism of adulthood and childhood is when they find the backpack in the bus. And he empties it out, and he knows exactly what that stuff's for, and it just sends a chill up your spine, because you, as an adult, know what it's for, but the kids are all, this is kind of weird stuff. What's all this for? And so that was a way to reinforce that he really is an adult in a kid's body, and these people are really just children.
yeah, and there are a bunch of fun moments where he lets his adult voice slip out. He's like
Uh-huh.
thinking adult things. It's like, oops, I said that out loud.
Yeah.
Then like everyone around him expects him to be a kid. They're like, what the fuck?
so can you guys hear me now? Or
Yes.
Yep.
so my only thing was that I was kind of wondering, like you guys said, he woke up in the coma and everything. But if you remember back when he was talking to his mom about how he would always make all these comments about certain things that happened, so did all those stuff that he helped prevent dangers in the past just totally happen now since he wasn't there to stop him?
Well, they had happened up to the point that he was in the car.
Because like remember they were she mentioned a story about how he's talked about there's a fire or there's something weird that he needed help to look for something and him finding a fire. So I'm wondering, like,
Oh, you mean the stuff in the present?
yeah. So now that he's changed everything, I wonder what happens to all that stuff that he's or
That
all
didn't
the.
happen at all. Because he went back in time to change and was in a coma since he was, what, 12, I think?
Yeah. This show was just great. It was great. I showed it to my friends when we were at the convention, and we ended up marathoning the whole thing. They liked it that much. So it's an easy show for a bunch of people to get into real quick.
In some ways, I think that this would be a good show. Maybe not a gateway show necessarily, but I would show this to my parents, and I think that they would enjoy it. It has a lot of non-otaku appeal.
The only thing about this show that kind of annoyed me because of my friends was the whole shiitake whenever they left. And my friend just kept on repeating that and just killing that whole thing. You know how when a group of people, they become immature when they start drinking?
Yeah, I wonder if that's some like 80s thing, or is it a Hokkaido thing, or is it a
It's a
Hokkaido in the 80s thing?
Hokkaido thing. I looked it up because I'd never heard it before, and it's part of the dialect.
I know very little about Hokkaido. They don't make enough anime there. I think like Noa-in is the only other show I can think of off the top of my head that took place in
Silver
Hokkaido.
Spoon. I'm pretty sure Silver Spoon was in Hokkaido.
Just think of an anime where it snows a lot. It's probably in Hokkaido.
In Honey and Clover, didn't he bike to Hokkaido?
Yeah.
He biked all over.
So great show. Everyone needs to watch it. Just, I was really confused with why they translated to erased in the English.
Yeah. I second your confusion. That was lame.
It doesn't translate very well. So I can see why they're like, oh, fuck it. Erased.
Erased of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But it's funny to see the subtitle erased when you see this like big long thing of like Japanese characters and it just says erased. You're like, that's not what it says.
All right, so we ready for the next title?
Sure.
And yeah, my friends are downloading a bunch of stuff, so that's why I was tripping out.
Bastards.
What is this? Daga Shikashi? The candy anime?
Mm-hmm.
How many episodes were in this?
I can't say without looking it up. I didn't see like the last 1 or 2 episodes.
I only watched 6 or 7.
12. There's 12.
Oh, so none of us finished it then.
It's a spoiler-free discussion.
So do you guys enjoy this show a lot, or?
Well, it's kind of like the candy that it talks about. It's as far as an anime goes, it's really just kind of like a junk food between the more serious fare. So if Erased is too heavy for you, you watch an episode of this and you feel all right. It's not bad. It's just kind of like a gag anime, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a gag anime.
Yeah, there's little to no character development. It did get me interested in a couple of the more obscure snacks, so I went to the Japanese snacks shop and got the fue ramune and proceeded to scare the hell out of my cats.
Yep. Yeah, there's not much to it. You get to learn a lot of snack culture trivia. And on its own, that makes it fun.
Yeah, it's not bad. It just there isn't a whole lot to it. It's like cotton candy.
I guess one of the other joys of the show is like a childhood rediscovery, but for Japanese people. So there's a lot of like every other episode, or is pretty much has someone saying like, "Oh yeah, I remember doing this as a kid," because a lot of the candies have like rituals or games associated with them. Like here's a candy that has ghost stories printed on the back, or here's a candy that if you pop it out, like it'll tell you your fortune or something like that. So it's fun in that way.
Did any of these candies make you reminisce about candies you ate here as a child, or anything like that? Like when they're doing the card flipping, they reminded me a lot of Pogs back in the day when we were kids.
Hmm.
Not so much because our candy's really straightforward. You open it and you shove it in your mouth. I mean,
Yeah.
really. One funny
Well,
thing though
Twix has a
is
pretty good history.
the episode where they're tying each other up to eat the candy. Remember that one? Did
Oh,
you guys see that one?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, my husband walks out and saw that. He goes, "So that's what you're into, huh?" Just
Tying each other up. Is that the Fugashi blind taste test, or was that
I
something
don't
else?
even remember what it was that they were eating.
Yeah, didn't you buy like a bunch of those, Sean, and eat some more?
Yeah, I bought a bag of Fugashi. It's
I couldn't find
unremarkable.
those. My shop didn't have them.
How did they taste?
I don't know. They kind of suck. They're just like just picture like a really big Cheeto, but take all the cheese and flavor off of it and replace that with like a layer of molasses.
Ew.
Ugh.
So it's like that. It's like a giant molasses puff. It's essentially what Fugashi
Huh.
is. It has like this crispy, like sugary shell around it, which is the molasses, and then the inside is just puff. And the puffy puff part, it's pretty light. It's much lighter than like a Cheeto. So it almost collapses in your mouth like cotton candy.
Weird.
How strange.
I will say that the ending theme is cute and very catchy, though. Calorie Queen. I liked it.
And this show came with a lot of like, I don't know if you would call them eye catches, but they had a lot of whenever she's like, "Deh," or "and then,"
Yep.
those cute pictures all over the place.
Yep. Lots of good eye catches that go way too fast.
Yeah.
There's
So as it was coming out, I wanted to try the candy and try to get them, but there's so many of them that I found, but you just can't ship them out of Japan
hmm
directly from them, so it's just too hard. That's the only thing that made me sad about the show is that I couldn't try them out.
They probably never did a Haichu segment, but I noticed that these days there's Haichu at like 7-Elevens here.
Really? At
It's like that.
7-Eleven?
I remember that being something that I would get at like Mitsuo Marketplace, which is a Japanese grocery store around here.
Hmm.
I know you can find Pocky at Walmarts and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Never seen Haichu.
Yeah, Haichu is like Starburst, but like much, much softer. Because like Starburst starts out like really hard. You gotta get it going before it gets chewy.
Kind of like taffy.
Yeah, but the flavors are also Japanese. It's weird, it's like artificial candy flavors. Like America has their own set of flavors, but Japan has a different set of flavors. Like they like melon a lot, and I think like their artificial flavors taste a bit more like the fruit.
So would you say this is a show for more or less anime watchers or frequent anime watchers, or would you say this is a good introduction?
Yeah, I think the types of people that this show will appeal to are Japanophiles.
It's very
Because
niche.
so if you want to know like weird trivia about Japanese culture or get like this,
Sorry,
whoa,
guys.
and get this perspective on like what it was like to grow up in Japan, like maybe in the 80s and 90s or something, then Dagashi Kashi is will give you that perspective, I guess. From the point of view of candy and snacks.
I see. Well, what other titles do you guys want to talk about? Because we went through all of our numbers.
Yeah, ran out of them. I don't know.
We didn't talk about the Iron-Blooded Orphans at all, but I think I'm the only one that saw that, so.
That was like the two core, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How's that one going? They get to Earth?
Yes, they did. They went to Alaska and Canada, of all places.
Okay.
I really, really like it. I think it's one of the better Gundams story-wise. I tend to space out whenever the mechas are fighting because it doesn't really, it's just CG models colliding with each other, but not with this show. Is this show I actually pay attention to the mechs and where they are and how they're fighting. And the character writing is really strong too. Every character is very complex. There are probably 6 of them because it's Gundam. And it's one that I definitely want to rewatch because I feel like I'm missing a lot of the little details. So I would recommend it. My only bitch is that the character designs are ugly as sin. And they all look like they're pulled from different character designers. The princess looks like she's a 70s shoujo heroine. There's one guy with a circular beard. There's another guy with a comb over. Another guy has a horn in his beard, it looks like. It's just, it is an ugly show to watch. But if you can get past that, it's really good. I'm just shallow and it's
So
all
did
about
they
the
get
art.
any?
Huh?
So did they do any better with the names? You know, like biscuit, cookie, and cracker.
Oh gosh, I found out what the grandma has a really hysterical name, and I can't remember it now. But it's also about some baked good. The grandma's named after it too, so it's a family thing. I don't know, the names are all sort of weird. Because there's Nays, Turbine, like okay. And then Kudelia Ina Bernstein. Alright. So, no, they haven't done any better with the name. Oh my gosh, Karta Issue. That was another one. Karta Issue. Female. And her hairdo is even wilder than all the ones that came before. You should do a Google image search on her, actually. For a good laugh.
All right.
Let me get Google going. There we go. She's got some sort of reverse skunk thing going on.
Whoa, those eyebrows.
Yeah, I know. They're distracting. The character designs are bad to the point of distraction. There's one guy, a villain of course, who has this rictus grin that reminds me a little bit of the Joker. And so since he always has that on his face, even when he's losing and getting his ass handed to him, it doesn't jive with the emotions that he's supposed to be feeling. But it's even, gosh, I didn't think I'd ever say this, but I really hate Hisashi Hirai's designs. And I found someone that's a worse character designer than he is, and it's whoever this Iron-Blooded Orphans person is. Because then there's a guy with purple hair and a comb over, and he's supposed to be 20. Just, oh, really?
Oh, you don't like that?
The Gundam Seed guy.
I like his characters.
I like the characters. I just don't like the way they look. Because again, I'm a shallow person, I guess. But I was explaining part of the story to my husband, and there's a scene where Karta Issue, this woman that you're looking at, challenges our group, the Tekadon, and she gets out of her mech, and she has 2 other guys in their mechs with her, and they all get out of their mech, and she says, I'm Karta Issue, I'm with Gallarhorn, and I'm here to challenge you to a duel 3-on-3, and she names the terms, if you win, then we'll stand aside and let you go, and if we win, you have to turn over Kudelia. Well, she doesn't even get through her little spiel until Mikazuki goes and just obliterates one of the other mechs, and then goes to town on the other one. She barely gets in her mech, and he just starts fighting. So he just has no concept of honor or anything. So anyway, where I'm trying to go with this is that Mikazuki does something that a villain would do. And the villains, or Gallarhorn, does something that a hero would do, is make it very cut and dry and obvious and lay out all of the dual terms. So you have lots of characters who are on one side of the fight but aren't necessarily bad people. They're good people, they're just in a bad regime. And then on the other side of the coin you have someone who may not be that great of a person, even though he's fighting for a good cause. And that makes it a really fascinating show to watch, because you never know who's going to do what, really.
Is he like a psychopath or something?
He seems sort of like that. I have a very hard time reading Mikazuki because he shows very little emotion. And I don't know if that's because he's just not feeling the empathy or if he's not expressing the empathy, because those could be 2 different things. But he doesn't really seem to connect with other characters, except for Orga. He's very attached to Orga. So, I don't know. I would really like to hear what other people have to say about him, because I can't figure the guy out.
So the parts I did see when I saw him made me really think of, like, probably a psychopath. Because, I mean, he killed with no remorse, no feelings, and it's like he'd even give it a second chance, and it's just, I don't know, it was just really weird how he always did that, and it's not like he thinks it's bad or anything, he's just like, it's something I needed to do.
Yeah, because there was one scene on the battlefield where he was fighting an older soldier, and the soldier found out that there were child soldiers in these mechs. And so he refused to fight and was going completely on the defensive. And so Mikazuki eventually wears him down. And he gets to the point where he does the classic trope in anime of, this is the way I wanted to die, and if I can, do something good, blah, blah, blah. Well, he doesn't even get to finish it because Mikazuki freaking spears the cockpit before he can get his whole dying thing out. And I wasn't expecting that either. So, yeah, it's a very dark series, though. You've got slavery and child soldiers and, human trafficking and all sorts of lovely topics to discuss.
I may actually have to try to finish that then. Cause
I do recommend it. Yeah.
I do want to see more of Mikazuki and see what happens with him. All right, let's go ahead and go to another title, which I'll bring up right now. Aijin. The only reason I'm bringing this up is just to talk about how the release was versus the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a movie release done a while ago, and it seems that it covers up to the first 6 episodes of the TV series. So after the first 6 episodes of the TV series, then it continues on from where the movie left off. And during those 6 previous episodes, they may change little things, but not a lot of them are really big, except for one part, which is I don't know if you guys are okay with spoilers. You plan on watching this?
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm current with the manga.
So, like, there's this one part where in the movie he's being chased by these 2 men in a van at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the series, they actually had it where they were kidnapping a girl, and she was in the van, and they didn't even show that in the movie. So that was like one big thing that was a big difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, everything else wasn't that different. But
So there's very little new content when compared with the movie?
yeah, very little. I mean, they may have changed a little thing, how little things look, but you could probably get away with watching that movie and then continuing on with episode 7 and going on. For anyone who does plan on watching Aijin. And it's another one of those 3D movies I think a lot of people are having trouble with just because of the 3D nature, but I don't have any problems with it, and it is very interesting to me, especially when they talk about the main boy and how he's going through it, and especially when you find out how he really is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's been keeping me in it and watching it. So
I wondered if they were going to keep that the same or not because it felt very, very jarring in the manga. I felt like I didn't really know this person at all, and now he's a completely different character. So how did you feel about that?
yeah, at the beginning it was kind of weird because it made it seem like he was kind of blank. Like there's really
Yeah.
nothing. He was just plain normal. I mean, nothing really stood out. But then as things went on, his thought process was just so strange. Like, how did he normally interact with people? How did he normally do stuff? Like, he could kill himself without a second thought. Without, I mean, and he just barely started noticing he was an agent. I mean, I think that would probably take some people quite some time to think about or want to kill yourself just so you can not have to suffer something.
Mm-hmm.
And he does it I think a few times from what I've seen. Like, he's being choked out by this person, and as he's about to pass out, he just starts jamming these things in his neck to kill himself so he doesn't pass out. So he can continue fighting as he revives. It's just really weird how he switched to that thought process that quickly. And now he's kind of really manipulative where he's at right now in this village. And I'm like, was he always like that? Or is he just now?
They just, the two personas are so disconnected. I have a hard time believing that that's what the author intended from the start. So.
Yeah, and then the biggest thing that's bothering me, and I don't know if they'll ever get back to it, but is his sister. Like, why does she hate him so much? What's with that? I mean, just because he did something with the friend back in the day, or said something, but why is she so against him?
They do go into that a little bit in the manga, but it's still a mystery.
There's just a few things like that are just keeping me into it. Like the whole war with the Aijin and everything, that's kind of like in the background to me, but
Yeah, me too. I didn't find that was a very compelling shift when they started doing that.
Yeah, I'm more interested in what's going to go on with this boy. I mean, what's wrong with him?
Yeah.
But the music, I would say, is pretty interesting though, because they do play some stuff that low growl and everything when they start reviving and stuff is just really well done. I think when they do the timing of that.
They really did a good job in episode 3, I think it was, of making it a horror movie. Because she's in the hospital room, and there's that thing in there with her, and she can't see it, but you see the footprints in the blood, and it was scary.
It's kind of interesting how you say that because I think it almost did start kind of trying to look like a horror thing,
Yeah,
but
that's
now
how
to
it
where it's
felt.
at, it's not that way at all.
Uh-uh.
Because I'm like, oh, a little thriller, a horror. This is going to be interesting, but then it totally switches
Mm-hmm.
to this.
Cat and mouse game.
Yeah, but I don't know if this. I have to look it up and see if the series is going to continue on. If I can watch more of it, or if they could continue on. If not, I'll probably jump on the manga as well. So how's the manga? Is it?
It's all right. It follows, or rather, the show follows it really closely. There are a few things that I think the show does a little bit better, and vice versa. But it's pretty much the same experience, I would say.
Hmm.
I mean, but before the whole shift, I definitely would buy the manga. But after that, I'm content to just read it on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, I kind of hope they stay away from the whole battle thing, but I think it's going to become a big part of the next few episodes I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
Because like with him in the village, I think I'm really interested in that. Like right now, there's a lot of people who worry of him, and he's trying to get them on his side, and that's kind of interesting. I think, like how he's trying to manipulate them and everything.
Mm-hmm.
How far have you read, by the way?
Chapter 37, I think, was the most recent one. I'm current with it.
Okay. Was this only the manga, or is there a light novel?
I think it's just the manga.
Do you guys have any other titles you wanted to discuss real quick, or should we end it and
Mm,
save everything else for hopefully a bigger crowd next week?
You know, I stopped watching Bubuki Buranki maybe around, geez, I don't even know. But then my friend was like, "You need to watch one more episode," and I did. And
was he
then
right or
then
no?
Team America shows up, and it's like this
What?
kaleidoscope of like American stereotypes. It's awesome.
Oh, what episode
Just
number
like
is that?
I think I mean, this is such a blur in my mind, but it's like I think one of the dudes was like a guy with a cowboy hat, and
Oh
also he
my.
was a huge otaku. Like he was this embarrassing otaku. And then there was another one that was a cheerleader, and she was like, "Don't underestimate cheerleaders," as she does her
Oh
special
my
attack.
gosh.
Bubuki Buranki. Oh, right. It's not called that on Crunchyroll. God damn it. Like
BBK/BRNK, I think.
Burger King. It was episode 8 is what I saw, I think.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
Is this it?
Sounds like so much fun.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Is that the cheerleader?
Nope. No, this is the Super Otaku. It's wearing red, white, and blue, I guess.
Oh my
Maybe I imagine a
gosh.
cowboy hat. Oh my god, this guy.
Why didn't I see him cosplaying it?
Oh, he even has a butt chin. Oh my word.
Whoa, what's with his feet?
Yeehaw, that dude says. But anyway, anyway, so that's there. Even with that episode, I still kind of don't want to finish Bubuki Buranki, and part of the reason is because they announced another season.
Oh no,
You know, 'cause
really?
if it was just like I only need to watch like 5 more episodes, like yeah, okay, I could probably get to the end of that. But if it's gonna go on, then no thanks.
What is this show about, actually? What was it? What was it trying to be about?
It was trying to be Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill at the same time. That is my most concise description of Bubuki Buranki.
The first episode was really good, and then everything that came after it, not so much.
It's a neat like animation style piece, but beyond that, it's not really much of anything. So it's kind of hard to watch for more than just a few episodes. So I watched a bunch of episodes. I saw a bunch of battle scenes. They were kind of cool, but you know, it's not enough. It's not enough to keep me going for more than like 5 episodes. So you know, after a while, I was like, all right, I get it, and I haven't come back to it.
All right. So let's. I know this is a really short video today, but let's go ahead and call it. I would say. Hopefully we can get some more people, and I'll watch a lot more shows, and we can talk about more stuff next week. But just real quick, because honestly, I haven't seen anything this new season yet. Not even one episode one. What would you guys say I should start with?
The Lost Village.
The Lost Village.
All right, Lost Village. Roger that. I'm going to actually watch that right after this. So.
It's the most entertaining thing so far. There's a bunch of stuff that I still need to watch that came out like a day ago. I think Flying Witch is something I didn't watch yet.
Oh, it's really cute. I just watched that before the hangout started.
I heard that like Keys Nyber is not terrible.
No, it's
Somehow not terrible.
But I'm going to give it a couple of episodes to see where it's going to go.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for watching, and thank Owen Evans for our screen here. You can visit him at the Patreon for Owen Evans to support him. Good artist. And see you guys next week. We might cover some of the same titles, just in case we have a lot more larger group come in. Definitely cover the rest of what we have, and I'll try to power through a bunch of more anime so we can have a lot more to talk about. Bye-bye.
All right, cool. Bye.